Rob, it's time for another member talk, and we are here today. This is going to be a fun episode because we're here with a guy who normally comes to us from Rockaway Beach up in on the East Coast, but he's coming to us actually live from Florida. He's been down in Florida for a couple of days. His name is Paul, and forgive me if I butcher it. I'll do my best. Generowicz. Paul Generowicz. Did I say that right?
I've been called worse, but absolutely, that's great.
Paul, thanks for coming on. Paul's joining us today because we have, as you know, been in quite a pandemic lately, and it's really caused a lot of issues. One of the biggest issues is how do people get to come to services when you have limited ability to have people at services, or people are long distances away, such as where you are, Paul, in Florida, and we're up here in Washington. How would people come to a service? You've got a way to do that. It's called SympathyNet, and Paul owns it or operates SympathyNet, and he's going to come on here and talk with us a little bit about what SympathyNet is, what live streaming is, how we live stream. Behind me, I know you guys on the YouTube can't see it, but behind me, we're actually live streaming now. So it'll come out today on a live stream. It'll come out Tuesday on a podcast, and it'll come out Thursday on a YouTube. So we're going to get you out there, Paul, as many ways as we can. But at this point, tell us who you are, Paul. How'd you get into this, and where do we go from there?
Sure. I think you said, tell me who you are. And
yeah, tell us all about you. How did you get involved with live streaming? Because I know it's kind of an interesting story. You've shared it with me personally, but tell us tell all of us how you got involved in live stream.
Believe it or not, it happened by mistake. I was, I guess, an innovator in a completely different industry, and it depends on how old you people are out there. You might not know what it means, but I was fortunate enough when I was 17-year-old to start a 1-hour photo business. And I ran that business for about 25 years. And in about 2004 or 2005, GE started advertising something called 3D ultrasounds.
Okay.
And the 3D ultrasounds basically is a portrait of a baby in utero. Mm-hmm. And coincidentally, my wife, at the time she was my girlfriend, happened to be going to ultrasound school. And I was fortunate enough, pre-internet days, to get a phone number called 1-800-sonogram at the time. And at the same time, the internet started getting busy. We launched a company called 1-800-Sonogram, which still exists today. And we became the nationwide leader in 3D and 4D ultrasounds. So we were doing that for a couple of years. And a few years into it, one of our centers, I think they were in North Carolina, but don't hold me to it. They were on a military base, and I shouldn't say on a military base. They were near a military base, and one of the a lot of their clients were military moms whose husbands were overseas. And basically back then what they would do, and again, I'm dating myself, is they would actually make a DVD of the baby in utero, and they would mail it to the servicemen across the country, or across the world, I should say, in a different. But by the time the DVD got there, a lot of these servicemen had left that base. So as a goof, one of the owners of these ultrasound centers, because they knew I was into photography and video, and I'd been doing 8mm transfers, since like 1984. They asked me, is there a quicker way to get them a DVD? And when video streaming just came out, and I'm sure a lot of you guys watch Shark Tank, Mark Cuban, he had something called broadcast.com back then. When video streaming first came out, I actually devised a capture device that hooked up to the ultrasound machines. And we actually started streaming as a favor for military guys to actually be part of their wife's ultrasounds back in the States while they were overseas. And kind of did it in the beginning just as like a favor, as just kind of do my little part to help people that are putting their lives on the line every day. And I'm fortunate to live in the greatest country in the world, and I was like, what can I do to help out? And I was happy to do it. And before you knew it, that same ultrasound tech called me a couple of weeks later and says, I have another family. They're out in California. Their mother can't come. Could you set that up again? And I did it. And to make a long story short, is soon we started doing hundreds of ultrasound streams for all these different companies that we did business with across the country. And for a couple of years, and I absolutely knew nothing about funeral industry. But unfortunately, a tragedy happened. A young lady, her name was Sarah. She tragically died at a very young age of 15, and she was like our babysitter. And I went to the funeral, and when I went to the funeral, her friends were holding up. Back then, it was a flip phone, the black and white star text. So they were holding it up, and they were like, I asked one of them, like, what are you doing? Like, well, so and so goes to school in Indiana. She can't be part of it, but she wants to listen in. And the younger people were holding up their phones so their friends could be part of this. And there was hundreds and hundreds of people there. Anyway, I go home that day, and I don't know if it was Google or Yahoo at the time, but I went on a computer and I typed in funeral webcasting, because I'd been doing it already for like 2 years with the ultrasounds and didn't see anybody doing it. To fast forward, we started a company called SympathyNet, and till this day, every month we donate a portion of the proceeds that we make in honor of Sarah's name to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Yeah,
so
great.
Fortunate to do that. When I first got into the industry, it was about 2008. In the funeral home industry, we debuted at the New York State Funeral Directors Association convention. Knew absolutely nobody, but got a very warm welcome. Fell in love with the industry, really from that very first day. Didn't know what to expect. Not being in the industry, you always think that funeral directors are, very, very straight and like almost untouchable, because as somebody who's not in the industry, the only time you ever really interact with them is when you have a tragedy happen, or if somebody passes away, an older person, or I didn't know any funeral directors. So like I said, once I got into the industry in 2008, never looked back. Love everything about it, understand how it works. And back then, I can tell you there was a lot of negativity towards what we were doing. Like, most of the funeral directors were saying, well, we've been doing this for 100 years, and my grandfather never needed to do this. You're going to flop and you're going to fail. And like, oh, we never do that. And why would anybody else? That's, why would you ever want to do something like that? But anyway, we definitely had a couple in the first year. We had many forward-thinking funeral directors that signed up with us, and I can tell you, probably 75 or 80% of them that started with us 13 years ago are still with us today.
Wow.
Some of them might have been bought out, or maybe they didn't see the value back then, and we've gotten them back. But we really have a tremendous retention rate. That being said, back then it was a lot more difficult to do. Fast forward to today, you really don't need any special equipment. Facebook and YouTube started live streaming funerals probably 7 or 8 years after we were doing it, and a lot of funeral directors in the last 9 months have completely switched their theory of why they need to do this to the public is demanding for them to do it. But again, it's not something that we reacted in the pandemic. We've been proactive for so long and so pro it. It just confirmed what we believed 13 and 14 years ago about what a tremendous value it is.
Well, yeah, it was for me. It was a great introduction. I was looking for ways to provide a streaming service, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. A lot of good companies out there, but for a smaller person, or well, I shouldn't say that because that doesn't describe me. I mean, a smaller business. I was really looking for a cost-effective way to be able to offer the service, and kind of thumbing through, looking at all sorts of different routes, and some of them had inexpensive service but very expensive equipment, or very expensive service and very inexpensive equipment, or equipment that needed to be stationary and built into a building. There was I just wasn't finding the right fit. And then I came across SympathyNet. I think was it Cana? Is that where I saw you first?
Cana? Yep. It was exactly.
Cana convention this year. Which, by the way, if you missed the Cana convention, well, you missed a good one. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of great people there. And anyway, that's where I met Paul and was introduced to SympathyNet. And so I remember I called you up one day and I thought, I don't know where this guy's at. And I don't know where Rockaway Beach is. I've heard about it, but you're like as far away from me as possibly can on the continental United States. But it was cool because
maybe Nantucket is actually a little bit further.
yeah, not far, not much further. But it was really exciting because we were able to put this together and see how this was going to work. And what I found out with SympathyNet, and you can go into more detail about this, but what I found out was you don't need expensive equipment. If you have a phone, if you have a tablet, maybe an easel, I mean, you're good to go. That's all you really need. And I already had all those, so it was an easy fit to walk in. And since then, we've done a few services where we've actually gone out and live streamed. We've done that at churches. We've done that at gravesides where we're completely outside of Wi-Fi access, and was able to record it and get it onto the site as well. And it's really been a lot of fun, and people are really kind of seeing the value of it now and ordering it quite regularly. So congratulations. I think it's a great program that you have. I'm excited about it, but it doesn't have to be just for funerals. I found out we can do this for any kind of event. Isn't that right? You don't have to have a funeral home to be able to live stream the event.
Absolutely. What's unique about our platform, again, we designed it with the 60-year-old funeral director in mind, who is an unbelievable family connection person, meaning they have the skills of warming up to the family and providing the most unbelievable service. And I would say 90% of that type of person really is not a technical person, right? Because they're excellent at understanding families. Now, I would not be a good funeral director, right? Because I'm on the other extreme, right? I'm the technical person. So, but we designed it for them in mind, meaning that anybody can use our system. And like you said, we one of the and this was a request from our first few clients, right? They were concerned that our platform would be branded with our name. Mm-hmm. As you see now, there is no trace of our name anywhere on the platform. When the family of the funeral home interacts with the page, with the custom-made web page that's created, it's the funeral home brand that's there. And that being said, we did something called white labeling, right? So we're a white label solution provider. So in theory, you can do anything from an ultrasound to a funeral, to a wedding, to a corporate event, a birthday party, a sweet 16, whatever event you want, where you want to be completely inclusive,
right?
They can be part of it. And our web pages are interactive. And what I mean by interactive, and this is something I want to announce on the show here today, a new feature that we're doing is we have a way to help the local funeral home or the local business get more 5-star Google reviews from their viewers. very easily by literally touching a button. So that's one of the new features that we integrated into our platform. So not only do family members and friends get to watch it, and believe me, they appreciate being part of it because I see the comments that come through constantly.
Sure.
But they'll also be able to actually help the funeral home or business in local search, because you're exposing your brand to so many more people out there that really appreciate the service that's provided.
So that actually sounds exciting, a new feature. I'm curious to see how that works and to watch that. One thing I wanted to talk with you about, you mentioned Facebook and YouTube started live streaming, and we've seen a lot of people that have kind of gone that route, maybe out of necessity to get the live stream going, but not necessarily done a lot of investigation. One thing I'm hearing from people when it comes to Facebook in particular is after so many times you've live streamed, the algorithms that they use there kind of start cutting you off. And that's totally different than what we're talking about here. It's still a live stream, but it goes on, it's part of your website and people can come back and watch that.
Correct.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's actually more than accurate, and it gets a little bit deeper if it's okay if I expand on that.
By all means, yeah.
So, as a business, right? Facebook is a business, YouTube is a business.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really care about you, the business owner. They care about generating income for themselves.
Yeah.
So, and they also do not recognize your ASCAP and webcasting license. And
right.
I hope they never do.
Right.
Because most funeral homes and most businesses play by the rules, get these webcasting license, get these ASCAP license. So what basically happens is there's an algorithm, and the algorithm does two things. The first thing the algorithm does is that it listens for copyrighted music, and basically it shuts it down.
Mm-hmm.
But what also the algorithm does is that it takes the aggregate data, and basically what they're going to do, and everybody is very familiar with this today, is they push ads of funeral homes to the people who are watching funerals. Now,
right.
13 years ago when I started, I don't see that being a problem because most of the families did not live close. Today, since the pandemic, people who live around the corner are watching it. So the funeral homes that think they are getting away doing something for free, the amount of money that they're losing, because as a funeral home, right, if you're a competing business and you had a guy down the block, wouldn't you love to advertise to the people that went there? So,
yeah.
People, funeral directors think that, oh, wow, I don't need a service. And it could be our service or another service. And I can tell you that since we started, there was a company called Event by Wire back in that day. They folded 7 or 8 years ago. There are a lot of Johnny come latelys now, I call them, a lot of businesses that popped up in the last year that say, oh, wow, this is the greatest idea since sliced bread. And they think that funeral directors are making millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they can charge them whatever they want. I heard some of these places are charging, $150 to the funeral home, right? To the funeral home for a single event for a funeral. And then if that same funeral goes then to a graveside, they're going to charge them another $100 on top of that. I'm like,
oh my goodness,
I must be doing something wrong. But at the end of the day, businesses, any kind of business, really has to count their pennies. And we make it so affordable that with our solution, we also have clients that instead of them paying us for our service, we actually send them checks depending on the different integrations they allow on the website. So, it's at the end of the day, we're looking to empower business owners to easily do it, to do it privately, because some families want a webcast, but they don't want it on Facebook. They don't want it on YouTube. They don't want it open to the public. They want an actual private webcast. Without platform, they could do it. Without platform also, they can actually, they can not only live stream to the actual event, meaning they could live stream to different platforms at the same time. So you can get multiple stuff going.
Sure, sure. Well, it makes sense. I've been a part of Facebook forever, since basically it came out, and I've
Sure.
seen a lot of these live streams that are on there, and it's disappointing when you're right in the middle of a service and all of a sudden they start playing a song, whether it's a copyright song, whether it's just a congregational hymn, taped music, whatever, and all of a sudden the volume just stops. There's no more volume. You can't hear anything because Facebook takes it out of there. I've also seen where, yeah. And I've also seen where, okay, you record it, you put it onto Facebook, but maybe you want to come back to it next week, next month, next year. Yeah, you got to scroll through the entire feed of the funeral home to find it. Whereas with this, you can go right to the website and there it is. You can watch it again. The nice thing with yours I found too is that while you're live streaming, it's actually in the background recording. And so it will record to a MP4, I believe it is.
Correct.
To which you can actually download that onto a thumb drive and provide that to the family at the end of the service. It takes just a few minutes to download it, and they will have a copy of the funeral service right there in their hands as they walk out the door. You can't do that with Facebook. You can't give them a copy of that. You can't do that with YouTube per se, because it's just not available. It's cloud recording, which this is, but this allows you to download it and to provide it. So you've got a great feature going on with that, I think. Tell me a little bit. I'd
like to expand on that, just if that's
go
okay.
Ahead. Go for it.
Believe it or not, that is a failover feature as well. Meaning, you could be out in a cemetery, and you could be live streaming at the cemetery, and if you are counting on cell to stream, which you can, because we have something called low packets. So it allows the video to stream on very light internet connection. But if you are in a part of the cemetery where there's really no cell, it will still record locally, meaning on the device. So then when you get back to where there's internet, it will then upload. So again, it's all about inclusion, right? We want to be able to include everybody, and what we did is, because we've connected hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of virtual viewers over the year, we know what fails, and we know what funeral homes and other businesses need to make this successful and stress-free. Sure.
Yeah. No, it's been fun for me to play with it, to use the program. Like I say, I've had the opportunity to live stream about 3 or 4 different funeral services, and not just the funeral. The first one that we went to, they had a rosary service before the funeral.
Nice.
And so we live streamed the rosary. And then from there, we were able to live stream the mass. And then from there, we went out to the cemetery for the committal, and we locally recorded that, so that we were able to put onto a thumb drive at the end of that to the family all 3 separate services that they will now have record of, or can go on to the website and watch anytime they want to.
Nice.
Great feature.
Another cool feature. Yeah, another cool feature. Again, this is directed towards the funeral industry. A lot of funerals are done with a tribute slide video, right? Tribute slides, meaning a tribute video that is usually photos, some background music, maybe a little video inset. Without platform, you can either start off with that, or you can inject that in the middle of the service, or you can put it at the end. So we are integrated into the multiple facets of the media that the funeral home actually does. And we understand there are funeral homes out there that, well, let's just say in the chapel, they'll start off live streaming the minister, right? And then they go and they fade out and they go and everybody at the funeral home, whoever's in the funeral home, is watching the slideshow. Well, without platform, you can easily ingest that right into the stream. So the people at home or the people wherever they are, they could be out on a boat. They could be wherever they want, and they will still feel that they're physically there. And again, day one when we started 13 years ago, what was a big fear of most of the funeral directors now embrace so much because they can't believe it when they see 1,000 people and I don't know if you had a chance to see in your back end, you can actually see how many people are viewing it.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. I think the biggest stream we ever did was I think it was an amateur. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but our northern neighbors in Canada, hockey is a very big sport. And I think they have different levels of teams. And this guy was I don't know, I don't know what they call that level of team, but I don't know. I don't think he was an NHL player. He was like one level below that. And I think over the first 30 days, there must have been 15,000 views.
Wow.
And this had to be 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
This had to be 6 or 7 years ago. Yep. And there were that many people that viewed it. And again, I'm going to tell you something else that I want to bring to your attention. I guess I'm an entrepreneur at heart and I'm an inventor. And one of the things I remember as a kid is watching Princess Diana's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was on, well, for us, it was on at 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know when it was on for you guys. It was probably 1 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah.
So I remember as a kid, like just staring at her funeral, and I didn't know her, right? But I felt connected and I felt like I was part of it, even though I was watching on a television, right? It was not live streamed back then, it was on television. So the reason I'm bringing that point up is that, most families, right? Loving families have their own Princess Diana, right? Mm-hmm. There's a Princess Diana in every family, right? Because, we as humans, we love most families love each other, right? Most families love each other. And, there are special people for different reasons. And not saying that everybody's not special, everybody's special, but there are, maybe, great grandma's 105 years old and she has 6 generations after her. And, everybody looks up to her as that's their Princess Diana or a gentleman that, there's so many different reasons. And that's what even more fortified to me the reason to get this started back then, because I'm like, hey, I remember as a kid watching Princess Diana's funeral and, wow, what I felt like I was honored. It's an honor to be part of somebody's, final homegoing.
Yeah.
Because there's an old saying, you can't take it with you, right?
Well, that's what they claim.
Yeah.
That's what they claim. So I want to touch on two very important things that I think are very important towards this. One, licensing, webcasting licensing. Are you required with this program to have a webcast license to protect against copyrights? You talked about ASCAP and the copyrights for music and stuff. Do you need to have a webcast license?
Absolutely. It can be from your state organization or from a national organization. We have a few links on our website that allow you to download and print out, and it's pennies a year. It's pennies a year. It's penny. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even know. I think it's like $150 for the year or something. It's a no-brainer.
I don't think I even paid that much. I think if I remember right, I got mine through NFDA, and I think it was about $55 or $75, which compared to a $75 or $40,000 fine, $75 is like you say, pennies.
Sure.
So if you're going to webcast, the point is get a webcast license to cover you for copyright, and do it right. It's very simple. Sign up. You can do it online, get your license emailed to you, you're good to go. Second point I wanted to touch on is embedding these webcasts. How do we do that? I know that I'm going to let you describe it because you do it so much easier than I can. But I will say this: it's the coolest thing ever when you can go on to a funeral home's website and you can go to their obituary section, and there's an embedded code in an obituary that you can click a link and it will take you to the live video and you can watch the funeral. Tell me how easy it is to do that on a website.
Okay. So the word embed code maybe is even too complicated to use, meaning,
Might be.
right? What's that?
It might be.
It might be. It might be. So basically, what our game plan was is to make it seamless, meaning we don't want people who are part of the event to feel that they're leaving the website. So there's something called a URL, and the URL everybody sees, it's www.so-and-so/so-and-so. So
Right.
we created a platform to mimic your website. So it looks like you're on your website, but the video player only, the video player and the chat feature is on our server, so it doesn't use up your resources.
Mm-hmm.
And the way our webcasting works is the funeral home or the business is streaming one stream to us, and we are pushing it back to your website to many. And that is literally the theory, but to physically do it, it's literally you copy the URL that's specific to that event and you paste it in the back end of your website. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we offer unlimited training and tech support. So then when people come to the front end, and if you don't understand what the front end and the back end of a website, the back end is what you don't want people to see. And the front end is basically what you want people to see. So the back, so you copy and paste the link that is automatically generated. And I think you've seen that, Rob, how easily it gets generated. And
Absolutely.
You literally paste that into the back end of your website in a field, and it will automatically populate in the front end as a viewer. So I'm sure most funeral homes here are not letting their families go into their prep room, right? So they want to see them. Families go to the front part of the chapel. They don't go in the back end. It's same as the restaurant. You know, any good restaurant that you eat at, there's a back end and then there's the front end.
Right.
Most clients aren't allowed in the back end, and not because they're anything bad. It's just it's not what you want your brand to look like to the general public.
So I've had an opportunity to play with this service for, 30 days roughly. One thing I can say is that most funeral homes that are in our area, at least, their websites are operated by either a casket company or a funeral webcast, or not webcast, funeral website company, or they're through a generic website company like a WordPress or a Wix or something like that. One thing that I have found is this is so simple. Once you set this up and you set up the date you want to record, it is literally copy, cut, and paste the URL, which is the www.whatever.whatever. And you put that into the obituary section on any of those platformed websites, whether it's the casket one, the funeral websites, the general ones, any of those. Cut and paste right on there. And when you hit submit or approve or whatever it is you hit, that it goes
to the
website, or save, it's there. And it's a link that, again, when you go to XYZ Funeral Home, you find John Smith's obituary. The first thing on there is click this link to view the funeral if you can't make it or if you want to see it. You just simply click the button and poof, it's working. And it's the coolest thing ever. It really is, to be able to watch it. You mentioned 15,000 live streams. I have not experienced that many, but the second funeral that I did, I was extremely excited about. I went in well, 4 or 5 days after the funeral was over, and just happened to be looking at some of the analytics. And that funeral had 300 views on it already. And I
Well,
thought,
that was my daughter. That was my daughter pressing it like 280 times.
well, I was talking to the funeral director. I said, listen, this could be one just like you say, this could be one person watching it 287 times, or it could be 287 people, but does it matter? It's that your information is getting out there. And the neat thing about it was they were so impressed because the funeral was actually the family member of the funeral director.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So they were very impressed with that, with the fact that they were able to see it. Paul, I know we're getting a little lengthy, so we're going to start winding down here, but can you share with me, we want to let people know, how do they get in touch with SympathyNet? How can they talk to you about SympathyNet? You got an email?
Sure. You can call me, you could text me, you could email me. We take carrier pigeon. You could stop by the office, whichever way you want. I don't know if you could put it up on the screen, but I could send you a thing that you could put up my email address, or you could put up like info@SympathyNet.com.
Yeah, we'll add that to the screen.
Our work number, our office number is area code 718-928-6608. I could also give you my text number is area code 917-359-4417.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll get all that added.
Or you could visit please visit our website. You can fill out the form. Somebody will get back to you. We know how important this is today more than ever, and we feel blessed and excited to be part, to be able to connect so many people who really want to be there, and today more than ever can.
SympathyLive.com is the website. Is that right?
So yeah. So the name of our corporate name is SympathyNet.com, and we forwarded that recently. I would say about 8 or 9 months ago to Sympathy Live, just because of the correlation with the live stream part of it.
Right. Yeah.
They're both the same exact website. It just forwards the URL from SympathyNet.com to SympathyLive.com. Same exact website, just 2 different URLs. And whichever one you type in, you'll get to.
And for those of you listening, I'm going to encourage you to do that, because there's some other really cool products on that website. We didn't get into them today, but very personalized products like personalized thumb drives, personalized memory boxes, all sorts of different things that can be ordered, engraved with your brand, your logo, all of that stuff, so that when you provide those videos back to the family, they come branded with your brand. And so go on there and check it out, SympathyNet.com, SympathyLive.com. Either one of those, as Paul said, will get you there, and give them a call. It's a really cool process. It's a lot of fun, actually. It's very easy to do, and it's very cost effective. So, Paul, hey, thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining us on this. We're going to go ahead and end this at this point. But again, thank you for coming out and being a part of Member Talks by Washington State Funeral Directors.
You know what? I appreciate it, and looking forward to many years working together with you, Rob, and looking forward to really good things happening.
Yes. Hey, until next time, everybody, we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.